My thoughts on a dodge cancel mechanic. Currently, you cannot cancel a melee animation into a dodge. You can only cancel a melee animation with a parry. This makes unblockable attacks an absolute nuisance when using a slow melee weapon like the Thunderhammer or Power Fist. The perks for the Assault class have a heavy emphasis on perfect dodges, but without a dodge cancel, if you choose to use a slower melee weapon, you are forced to be completely reactive to all enemy attacks. Okay, that's a great point. That is simply just a really good point there. Offensively, swinging your weapon will lock you into a long melee animation that will not allow you to properly dodge unblockable attacks. As a result, you end up standing around like a clown, looping dodges and gun strikes without swinging your melee weapon much at all. Dude, honestly, this would improve the assault class by quite a bit. I feel like this would be a great buff that, doesn't necessarily need to, adjust any perks or anything. Frankly, if I was able to dodge out of at least most attacks with the Thunderhammer, I would feel a lot better using it. But, the Thunderhammer is still good, in my opinion. Simple fix, implement a dodge cancel for all classes in the exact same respect as the parry. Using dodge or parry should immediately cancel whatever animation you are currently performing. The only caveat would be that you cannot cancel a parry with a dodge or vice versa. That way, if an unblockable attack comes in and you hit the parry button, you commit to that action and pay the price for an innocent choice. Yeah, no, definitely agree. Dude, yeah, I feel like we don't see enough people talking about this, but yeah, these are great points. Not having the choice at all is what annoys me the most. The Assault's jump pack dash should also work as a cancel in the same respect. Your thoughts? All right, well, I gotta say, they make a lot of good points here. And yes, I do think the Assault class would benefit greatly from some sort of adjustments. I feel like this should be like a Thunderhammer, maybe a Power Fist specific adjustment though, because every other weapon seems to have a pretty good dodge cancel. But I will say, the one class that wasn't mentioned here, the Heavy, even though they said all classes should have something like this, but the Heavy has such a weird, obviously when you're in heavy stance, you can't dodge out of it or anything. So that sometimes I feel like can make the Heavy feel a bit weird. But I gotta say, I do think it, kind of gives the Heavy a little bit of a drawback to their tankiness. But is their tanking ability really that unique to the fact that they need to be in heavy stance compared to something like the Bulwark, where you can practically dodge wherever you want and still get a good amount of armor, especially, considering the non-lethal armor gunstrike perk. But I will say the Thunderhammer and the Power Fist would likely need an adjustment like this first. The Heavy, I feel like, that could be its own discussion if the Heavy actually needs to be locked into heavy stance in the sense that they can't, dodge out of it. They have to, basically stop aiming. But yeah, let me know in the comments how you feel about this, because they definitely make some good points about dodge canceling here. A tip for the Power Fist: you can dodge while charging an attack so long as you haven't let go of the attack button and are charging. You can still dodge. This is true for the other charge attacks too, like Shadow Stab and Aftershock. Yeah, I knew about Shadow Stab. Shadow Stab and Aftershock. So that's interesting. That's actually a pretty good tip, to be honest. So it feels like maybe some attacks are kind of just locked into the fact that you like committed to the input. I like that idea. A tip for the Power Fist: you can dodge while charging an attack. So yeah, that's just really good to know. You just don't let go of your attack button. Basically, well, here's the thing. I think some of what the person is suggesting here is some of these attacks are slow. So even if you let go of the attack button, there still might be a long time for you to decide to dodge. But yeah, I mean, this is still a good point. Yes, I want this to be a thing. It makes no sense why we aren't able to dodge cancel. I assume they made it that way because Space Marines are big dudes in bulky armor, so they can't exactly move so fast. But realism aside, I want to be able to do this. So apparently, from what I've heard, is Space Marines can actually move pretty fast at like a top sprinting speed situation. And then they're also kind of agile, like even with that, the secret level clip, they are able to like move their bodies in ways where they react very quick to like catching enemies or using their melee weapons. So they have fast moments, it seems like. But yeah, I guess we didn't see them like just dodge out of the way like a huge diving dodge. I don't think we've seen that in secret level. But I would still like understand that if they need to dodge out of the way of like a grenade or something like that, we can definitely expect them to be able to pull that off, I would think. I think at some point you just have to adjust to the game and not keep asking for this and that. The game is fun, the game is playable, the game has interesting mechanics to learn. I honestly think PvE is in a good spot currently, and I don't really want to relearn anything for the sake of relearning stuff. Just don't mindlessly swing when you are aware there's a venom cannon or cultist sniper that is lining you up. Honestly, yeah, this guy's making some good points. There's not really a lot you can argue about this. Don't mindlessly swing during the Hive Tyrant attack combo. Don't mindlessly swing during a Biovore charge. Don't mindlessly swing during a Chronofect spin combo. Now, I do think there are certain moments that can catch you off guard when you are swinging, whether it's mindlessly or with your mind, I guess. This dude does bring up a good point, though. I think PvE is in a good spot, and honestly, relearning things just for the sake of relearning things can be a little bit tedious. We've been through some weird spots in this game for sure, but I think right now is likely the best iteration of what we've had in operations since launch. 100% probably. It is probably the best spot the game has been in. I think at some point you just have to adjust. Yeah, I guess that is fair. 100% fair. Isn't this part of the risk/reward gameplay? If you want to play it safe all the time, you can stick to light attacks, which allows you to dodge pretty much anything due to the short timing of the animations. This is a similar trade-off for parry versus block weapons. If you want the extra damage, like from a wind-up attack, you choose your moment and risk getting jumped. You can also choose to commit to heavy attacks mainly when you're at full armor, which punishes you for less for getting interrupted. Punishes you less for getting interrupted. This is something you get used to the more you play. They bring up a great point about going for heavies when you're at full armor. I definitely should pay more attention to that. I do agree. Now, this comment was downvoted, but I do think they have some good points here for sure. But yeah, I think the deal is, though, you can still take a lot of damage. Like, to be completely honest, I feel like the thing is, even if you have full armor and a charge attack, in absolute, getting hit by snipers is going to be rough no matter what. Yeah, playing it safe with the light attacks is fair as well. There's a similar trade. Dude, I guess you really should just bring blocking weapons if you really want to use slow attacking weapons, just so you have an extra stack of armor on the impact that can kind of help you out. Yeah, unblockables right now are just anti-fun. They execute so fast that if you were doing basically anything other than standing there doing nothing when they first trigger, you essentially have no option but to just eat the damage. It actually discourages the player from attacking and forces you to just fish for gun strikes. I'm not too sure if it forces us to fish for gun strikes. I do think, though, that sometimes relying on a certain attack can put you in bad situations. I get that, and that can definitely be a struggle to kind of deal with, especially when enemies are just weird. Sometimes you can just find enemies that are just looking at you or they don't want to attack at all, and it's like, it's weird because you kind of want to look for an unblockable attack to dodge and then maybe go for the charge attack, something like that. I understand why people would want to fish for gun strikes because they are afraid of taking too much damage on any sort of trade. Dude, I don't know. I do think this guy makes a good point, but some of the stuff you really just got to anticipate, like 100%. You have to really take away snipers, and I think moments like this are a little bit easier to deal with. But sometimes, Tyranid snipers, they can also melee attack you. They execute so fast that if you were doing basically anything other than standing still, that's interesting. Unblockables that are fast, I feel like some of them are pretty fast, but I think they're still pretty fair. I don't think they need to be like nerfed or anything like that. Anti-fun, I kind of disagree with. I understand their sentiment about fishing for gun strikes, but I just don't think it's, I don't think the issue is unblockable attacks, really. You know what I mean?